This is the Eat Well, Think Well, Live Well podcast. I'm Lisa Salisbury, and this is episode 134, Loving Your Body Equals Lasting Weight Loss with LeAnn Austin. Welcome to Eat Well, Think Well, Live Well, the podcast for busy women who want to lose weight without constantly counting, tracking, or stressing over every bite. I'm Lisa Salisbury, a certified health, weight loss, and life coach, and most importantly, a recovered chronic dieter. Here, you'll learn to listen to your body and uncover the reasons you're reaching for food when you're not truly hungry, freeing you to focus on a healthier, more fulfilling approach to eating. Welcome back to the Eat Well, Think Well, Live Well podcast. I'm delighted to have a fellow life coach here, LeAnn Austin. We met a couple years ago at a retreat, and she is just really such a delight online, and which is all I know her from now. So it was good to meet her in person a couple years ago, and we reconnected because she has some great things to share here with you today. So welcome, LeAnn, to the podcast. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell people what you do and how you came to this work?
Thank you so much, Lisa. Such a pleasure to be here. I'm LeAnn Austin, a master certified life coach and teacher. I help people create more fun and connection in their relationships with themselves and with others. I really love to explore the daughter-in-law, mother-in-law relationship and all that we learn from that. So I have a podcast and a book called Lovin My Daughter-In-Law. I live in Georgia with my husband. We have 4 adult sons, 2 daughters-in-law, a grandson, and a granddaughter on the way.
So
I love to coach, eat smoked meat and veggies and be outside, exercise. I love to watch The Chosen and connect with family and friends.
Perfect. I love it. So I became a mother-in-law just a little over a year ago.
Awesome.
And she's wonderful. And so I know that you do really good work on that. And it definitely is something that I work on in that relationship. So that is really, really valuable. But today on this podcast, LeAnn and I wanted to chat a little bit more about loving ourselves and how that makes a difference when we are eating, because so often we think about food or treating yourself, and we get these messages, especially online, like treat yourself, and that generally means eat all of the garbage and have that big slice of cake. And so we just wanted to talk about how loving ourselves can help us eat the way we want to eat. So let's start there. What do you think that our self-love has to do with the choices that we make with our eating?
Yeah, such a great question, because I think loving ourselves really does have a deep connection to the way that we eat. Because our relationship with food often really reflects on how we care for ourselves and how we honor ourselves. And this doesn't mean that we have to eat everything, quote, perfect or whatever we're supposed to eat.
Yeah.
It just means that, hey, when we're loving ourselves, we're more likely to choose foods that nourish us, and not so much out of restriction, but more out of love and respect for our bodies. It's more like asking ourselves the question, okay, how is this food going to make me feel, rather than, oh, this is good or this is bad or this is a problem. It's more that love for ourselves and our body.
And I think a lot of people know this, like from a cognitive level. They're like, yeah, that seems right. But how is that done? Because so many times, especially when I do like kind of first interviews or consult calls with potential clients, so often I'm hearing a lot of judgment. I'm hearing a lot of, which really is, shame. And I think women especially don't know how to get to this self-love place, because mostly they think, when I lose the weight, then I'll love myself. So I'm really interested in teaching people how to love yourself right now. And in that space, that is where we are making the good decisions. But that is very confusing, because we think that won't come until we've achieved some sort of perfection with our bodies.
Right. Which, just even recognizing that perfection with our bodies isn't even a thing. It's like,
Well, yeah.
What, you know what I mean? It's like, what if I were to appreciate that I can see, or that I can hear, or that I can walk to the mailbox, or that I can enjoy some food. So I think it's just taking a step back and noticing what are these little things? Yes, I may want to weigh 100 pounds less or whatever it is. And what else is there that I could appreciate today? If I weren't waiting to get to that ideal weight per se, what could I appreciate in this moment about my body? Maybe I like my eyes. Maybe I like my smile. I know I love to do and teach the light switch trick. So every time I turn a light on, I tell myself something that I love about me. I get up in the morning to go to the bathroom and I turn the light on and I'm like, oh, LeAnn, I love your beautiful smile. Or, I look out into the sunshine and I'm like, oh, LeAnn, I love that text that you sent. And not perfect things, but things that I'm making an effort. And I just really try and celebrate and love and appreciate those about me. So I think when we do that with our bodies, whatever it is, if we're talking about our toe, our finger, whatever, like really just finding even one thing that we're like, you know what, that might be okay. I kind of like how my hair turned out today or whatever.
That's great. Just the small things is a great place to start because a lot of people are like, well, I can't love this body in this shape. But I think we actually can also even do that. Like, I totally agree to start with the small things because that will be, a lower barrier to entry, if you will. But we also can be like, this body is good. This body is good. And it is still healthy enough to wake up every morning and get my kids to school. Sometimes, especially when I was a younger mom, I would be like, what have I even done today? And then I'm like, oh, that's right. I got 4 children up and fed them breakfast and made their lunches and got them to list all of the little things. I brushed my teeth. I made sure everyone had their hair done or whatever. And it really helped me to realize like that's a lot of little things that are really important. But then, in the grand scheme, it's like my body allowed all of that to happen. And so
Yes.
I think recognizing that at any weight, I was accomplishing those tasks. And so at any weight, I can go to the gym. At any weight, I can eat this wonderful breakfast that I made. And so this body makes those things possible. And so that's worthy of love too.
Yes, 100%. And I know for me, I weighed 30-ish more pounds than I wanted to for a long time. And it wasn't until I really loved my body where I was at with that extra weight on that I was able to take it off.
Mm.
Because I really think it's so impactful when, you know what, my only goal right now is to just love me right where I'm at. I'm not going to worry about dropping weight right now. I'm going to worry about loving me and doing those little simple things, those, things that may seem small, but really they're pretty impactful. And just doing that is going to get us to where we really want to be.
So tell me a little bit about that weight loss journey. So you feel like once you started really loving yourself, how did that change your behavior then?
Yes. And it took me a while to even recognize that. But it was like, instead of like, oh, LeAnn, you got to be perfect. Oh, LeAnn, this all or nothing thing. Oh, you messed up today. So therefore, let's wait and start tomorrow or next week or whatever. So it wasn't these big dramatic things. It was more like, I love me. I got me. Yeah, I ate more than I wanted today. And yeah, it felt kind of terrible in my body. And that's okay. I love me anyway. Just like I would talk to my kids or my husband or whoever, a friend. I wouldn't be like, "What's wrong with you? Why did you eat all that?" It would be more like, it makes sense. You had a lot going on. Of course, you turn to food for that. Totally okay. Let's have some compassion because then we can start practicing those skills that are going to move us towards where we want to be.
And when you have compassion after an overeat, I think this is so, so essential. You're so much less likely to continue overeating.
Yes.
When you're
Yes.
hard on yourself and you're like, there you go again, then that's true. There will you go again, right? That was bad grammar, but you know what I mean? Like
Totally.
it's the idea of like, well, I overate Friday night, the weekend's shot. I guess I'll wait till Monday to really get back on the wagon kind of thing, right? And
Mhm.
so when we have compassion after each overeat, you're so much more likely to practice your very next bite, which is a concept I teach. Your very next bite is right on plan
Ah,
because
yeah.
you are kind to yourself. And when
Mhm.
you're doing that from a place of self-love, you're not getting back on restriction. You're not restrict because that's the other way we go after an overeat is to heavy restriction.
Mhm.
But when you're just coming out of that from a place of, wow, you really needed that and showing compassion, you're way more likely to just have that very next bite be exactly what you truly want, which is right on your plan.
Yes, and I love so much that you teach that because that's it. It doesn't have to be tomorrow even or
Right.
next week or whatever. It can be, oh, wait, my next bite I put in my mouth is going to be something that nourishes me and makes me feel good. And it's
Yeah.
okay, whatever recently happened or whatever.
Yeah. Tell me what you teach. I know you have a section in your membership about loving your body. Is there anything else that you teach that would be applicable here?
Yeah, yeah. I think one of the big things is curiosity. I
Mm,
really think that is like our secret weapon to the body that we want. And that's when we just open up to all the possibilities. For me, it's thinking of things as an experiment. I have learned that when I just experiment, hey, I'm going to try this out for a couple weeks. I'm going to see how this
like different
resonates with
foods
me.
or different. Okay.
Yes, yeah, different foods, how this feels in my body, how this doesn't feel in my body. Sometimes it's different amounts of things. There's no good or bad.
Mm,
There's no, and that I like to make really clear. There's no good or bad food. It's just seeing what resonates with our bodies because every body is different. Every food is going to feel different to us. And so really listening and experimenting, if I think of it as an experiment instead of like I have to or a diet or whatever, I'm so much more open to, oh, I'm just seeing how this is. I'm going to try this for a couple weeks and see how I feel. And then, and maybe keeping some data so I have some information of what felt good and what didn't, and then trying something different. Just that curiosity and that experiment is really key in what I teach as well. And then the perfectionism, like we mentioned before, it's really hard to love our bodies when we think they need to be perfect. And again, it's not even a thing. We all
yeah.
have unique, beautiful, amazing bodies. And when we can learn to love and appreciate them right where they're at, so impactful.
Yeah. It really is like we're kind of saying the same thing over and over, but I just don't think it can be overstated. Like
Yeah,
loving your body is the way. Like it's the way.
it is.
Because we take care of the things that we love, and it matters. I last week, and I'm not sure the when I say last week on the podcast, sometimes it ends up being a couple weeks until I publish. But in any case, episode 132, where I was talking about prevention of Alzheimer's, which is such a long-term prevention situation, we really came down to just saying it matters because it's hard to stay focused on something that we're like, we don't know if we won until 30 years later. And so it is sometimes hard to stay focused. And we were just saying the one thing that really helps is right now is just to say, this matters. This choice matters. And I have really been expanding that after I had talked to her because we were talking about like going on this walk matters and choosing to have some vegetables today matters. But I've really been realizing like I matter. And
Yes.
I've been switching it to not just this matters, it matters, like these outside things I'm doing, but like I matter.
Mhm.
And I realize like, ooh, I'm really turning this into like loving myself more. That
Mhm.
all of those prevention things are also things that make us feel amazing right now. And I'm like, I matter right now too. And so I'm like, that's so fascinating that even that conversation comes back to this conversation which is you matter and loving yourself actually will change the way that you eat.
100%. I love that.
What are some of the thoughts that you use like that? Like that's kind of one that's really been working for me. I mean, it's only been a couple weeks, I have to admit, but it's been really impactful for me. Any other thoughts that you feel like are really helpful with this?
Yeah, one of my favorite thoughts, and this is something I like to say, I got this,
Mm,
and Jesus has got me. So for those who believe in Jesus or whatever God, universe, nature, whatever they choose that. Like pick something. I got this, and Jesus has got me, or the universe has got me, or whatever it is.
mhm,
To be like, oh, I do. I have this. I'm figuring this out. That's another one. I'm figuring this out. I'm getting one step closer. Like you said, I matter. This matters in this moment. So many great things
mhm,
that, I think that's just, again, playing with what resonates with me. What's a thought that kind of lights me up and is like, oh, wait a second, you know, this is really important to me. I know one thing that was keeping me from moving where I wanted to go was, oh, it doesn't matter. It
mm.
doesn't make a difference. That was a big thing. Oh, this really doesn't matter. This really doesn't make a difference. And so whenever my brain offers me those thoughts, I'm like, wait a second. It does make a difference. This little tiny thing that I'm starting to question right now, it will make a difference. So just bringing awareness to that, I think is super helpful.
Yeah. And to your point about the higher power, that can really help, especially our love for ourselves, to believe in something bigger than ourselves. And so just thinking about, I've heard things like the universe is always conspiring in your favor. Like
Yes.
if you're not strictly Christian, you can believe in the universe and that spirit. I also really love to think about this body that I am taking care of is the vessel for my soul.
Mm,
And that soul, she deserves to live in a body that is functional and can run up and down the stairs and can,
yes.
you know, do all of the things. And so connecting with your soul and with a higher power can also really help to love yourself. I know that LeAnn and I grew up in the same faith where we were taught you're a child of God.
Mm,
And that really, that does help. It does help me to think. And there's a new song, a new gospel song out that I've heard. It's, like kind of gospel rock, and it's called Daughter of Light. And I really love that imagery. You are a daughter of light. And again, whatever you believe that that light is inside of you. And if that helps you to make the next right step, like grab onto that and just know
yes.
that there is a higher power that loves you and believes in you.
Oh, I love that so much.
And this might be a little dramatic because, like, does God care how much I weigh? 100% no. 100% no. He doesn't, the higher power does not care what your scale weight is. However, that higher power does care about you. And I want to live in a body that is fully functional and healthy. And I know, like, I have clients that are like, my knees just hurt when am at this weight. And those are the kinds of things I think when we're looking for other reasons to want to be at a lower weight, it's bigger than just the scale weight. It's bigger than your appearance. It's that function, right? And it's that, cholesterol number, and it's that, A1C number, and those kinds of things that weight can play a factor in. And so when we're talking about longevity and true health, there are factors that weight can, not always, but can be a factor in. And so I think it's those kinds of bigger things. I don't want you to think that I think that God wants you to weigh a certain amount. That's not what I'm
Mhm.
saying. Right. But it just can empower you to live in and take care of this one mortal body that we have.
100%. And I'm going to have to look up that song, Daughter of Light, because I think, Lisa, thinking of it, light, I don't know, for anyone, almost whatever you believe in, we all know light. We all see light. And feeling that light makes a huge difference. I know my favorite word, well, one of them is connection. And I intentionally try every day to connect with my body, with my mind, and with my spirit, even just for 30 seconds. If I can connect with those three things, I feel more light. Not physically light per se, but just that light that is within every single one of us. So I love that so much.
Yeah, and we do. We have to connect with our bodies. We have to check in and be like, what do you need today?
Yeah.
And as much as I have a plan for what I'm going to eat and a plan for my movement for the day, there's been lots of times where I wake up and I'm like, oh, yeah, I know it's not a weightlifting day. Just going to go on a long walk. Like, check in with your body. Just because your schedule says that doesn't mean, and other times it's the opposite. You wake up with more energy than you anticipate. And you're like, maybe I could do a little more today. And so, checking in with your body is not to be underrated.
Yes, that connection, that check-in with our bodies, it really is so impactful. It makes a difference.
Okay, well, this has been so fun. It's I feel like we could just honestly like kind of talk about it all day, but I think we've hit the high points. Like, this is not difficult. This isn't an hour and a half conversation that you need to hear. It's just so simple. We're just telling you the option is available for you to love your body now. Take us up on that.
Yeah.
Like, it is available. You do not need to change your body in any way to love it.
Yes.
Any last words of wisdom for us, LeAnn, on this topic?
Yes. One of my very favorite quotes is you either love someone or you don't understand them. And I think this relates to us. You either love you or you don't understand you. So as you're going through this weight loss journey or process and really learning to love yourself, when you notice that you're not loving yourself, just kindly say, hey, what's going on here? What am I not understanding? Is there something that I'm missing? Just that curiosity and compassion
Again, the
and love.
curiosity.
Yes, it's key because it really is. We will feel that love when we're seeking to understand. So as we're learning to love our bodies, we're going to feel that love if we can just open up and be curious and really see, okay, maybe there's something I just don't know about this. What could I learn? How could I listen to Lisa's podcast and implement some of the tools she's teaching me? Whatever that looks like.
I love that, seeking to understand ourselves too, because that's such a common relationship topic. So perfect. Thank you so much, LeAnn. Why don't you tell people where they can find you online and connect with you in that way?
Yes. You can find me on my website, leannaustin.com, or I'm also on all the socials, LeAnn Austin Coaching. You can find me there. And then I have a Connection Crew membership and a one-on-one coaching hybrid program where I really help people create more connection and fun with themselves and with their crew.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We'll put all of those links in the show notes.
Thank you, Lisa. A pleasure being here.
I'm so glad you tuned in today. Before I sign off, I want to remind you of the What to Do When You Overeat free 3-part video course that I have. A lot of topics that we discussed today are taught more in depth in that course. If you are trying to lose weight and find yourself overeating too many times to see lasting success, be sure to check out that free course. It also comes with a reset and recovery guide that will help you put everything you learn in the videos in writing and really clarify each step so you can feel confident moving forward. If today's insights resonated with you and you are ready to make lasting changes in your health journey, I would love to help. You can book a free consult session with me to see if my 12-week one-on-one coaching program is a perfect fit for you. You can schedule it at the link in the show notes. Remember, it's not just about the food, it's about empowering yourself with choices that truly serve you. Have a great week, and as always, thanks for listening to the Eat Well, Think Well, Live Well podcast.